Hey there, Rebus forever here. I kind of thought this game was a new game when I bought it, and then I realised it wasn't, and I thought, I shouldn't do a 1 minute review for it, and then I thought, well, I may as well, because I've been playing it. So yeah, here's a review that's neither significant in terms of a retro, nor new enough to really generate any views for its own sake. Also, thanks to my couple of Patreons for making this purchase possible. Do you like spaceships but suffer from a crippling fear of choice? Then this game's limited 4 playable ships, even after buying the DLC, will have you thoroughly covered. Do you like the idea of exploring space but wish space had a bit less space in which to explore? Do you like your narrative delivered in such disparate fragments that it sometimes feels like trying to read a book by setting fire to it and trying to read the smoke? Then Everspace has got you covered on all counts for a mere 37 quid. Everspace. Nearly great, but barely more substantial than a Happy Meal based on the movie Moon, and sadly priced more in line with a restaurant where they trust their patrons with cutlery. Everspace is a very formulaic game, for better or worse. Jump into sector, explore the handful of points of interest, loot, harvest, dogfight, very occasionally be given a mission to complete, upgrade, and jump to the next sector before the devs dispatch the baddies, who will eventually jump in to try and prevent you from noticing how empty the sectors are. The game features procedurally generated regions of space for you to explore, providing all the benefits of no two runs being exactly the same, with the procedurally generated downside of none of the runs feeling particularly distinct or narratively crafted either. Expect incoherent spikes in difficulty, with some runs in the early stages dumping you amidst a mass of enemy fighters, and other runs failing to ramp up the difficulty with plenty of allies around to soak up the enemy fire, which can sometimes make the later nodes feel trivial. The game features a handful of ships, as noted, for a roguelike attitude to dying that is both soul-crushing when a good run turns bad very quickly, forcing you to start at the beginning, and rewarding you when you progress enough in a run to earn a load of cash to buy upgrades on the permanent post-death upgrade menu. The crafting and per-run upgrades are a good way of providing some engaging busy work, but you will have seen those in other games. Weapon drops are not as common as I feel they could be, nor is the range of weapons as broad or exciting as it probably should be, at least not so far as I have seen in my plays. The game does so much well. The handling is arcadey and reminds me of Descent, but feels a bit underexploited by the lack of internal spaces for you to explore, sadly underutilizing the effective 6 degrees of controls. The lack of variety with the range of weapons and ships to reward obsessive replaying, and the frequent sense when completing all the tasks in a sector that the game is just a little bit more empty than it ought to be for the price, does sadly detract from the experience. The story seems interesting, but, and I should warn you, this is a spoiler, I can't help but wonder if there is some unconscious, self-referential statement being made by the devs, with the protagonist being a somewhat incomplete clone in space. Everspace is a fun space fighter roguelike mix that is largely successful, but with nearly every element in the game needing like 10% more substance to become excellent. It would be great to see a surplus of things to do in each sector, with the knowledge that the enemy jumping in will force you to choose which points of interest to explore and create a greater sense of agency, compared to the current system where it is fairly easy to explore a whole sector without too much effort, but feels like crossing things off a list more than exploring. It would be nice to leave a sector wishing I could have explored that final wreck or station and feel something, rather than have completed an admin task. Everspace is a good game. It feels like the space shooters of old and well worth a play, but much easier to recommend on sale. The price of 23 quid is fair, but only just. In the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there is a punishment reserved for only the most awful people, stored on a planet so cursed by the existence of this device that all of the inhabitants of the world spontaneously evolved wings, so as to never have to walk upon the planet's benighted surface again. The device, a means of forcing fully a total awareness of the entire scale of the universe in its infinite vastness, every star, every sun, every atom of every being, and in that awareness, the knowledge that you are nothing. So small, so insignificant, so as to be barely considered to have any worth at all. This device was designed to drive anyone mad. Everspace is kind of like the opposite of this. It manages to succeed in making space, the universe, and everything feel very, very small, and after a few plays somewhat samey. But the combat is ace, the story better than it needs to be, with the voice acting not letting anything down either. If you get it on sale, you've already won a victory. If you don't care about the price, you should have some fun. I am. But I got the game at 62% off, which I think is a perfect price. Anyway, thanks for watching, and there's a subscribe thing for subscribers, if you want to be a subscriber. I'm close to 300 subscribers. If you're new to the channel, check some of my other stuff and maybe consider. And for anyone that's stuck around for a while and is feeling flushed, there's a Patreon. Toodle pip.